hey there, Marie Greene from Olive Knits here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to work the contrast trim that just covers the top of your ribbing so that it matches the contrast along the neckline and along the edge of the button band. You should have a little tail here left over from when you bound off on that contrast edge of the button band, and we're going to use that and a crochet hook to finish this little top edge. And you can do this on all four edges, tops and bottoms of your button band so that you get a nice finished look. Let's get started. Now, in order to work this technique, I'm sort of cheating a little bit and adding some trim to my original Sailaway sweater, but you can get the idea. This is basically just to show you how it's done. So once you've bound off the button band and have your tail, you'll want to leave that nice and long. And if for some reason your tail that you've left isn't long enough, you can absolutely weave that in and join new yarn here so that you have a little more to work with. It's fine either way. But what you'll do is you'll start at the edge of the band and where you have the tail and then work toward the center. Now on this example, you can see I don't have that contrast trim along the top because this is the regular Sailaway pattern and they come together with the Coastal Grandma that has the trim and the regular Sailaway that doesn't. But I'm just going to use this one to show you how to work it because the process is the same. So what you're going to do is use a crochet hook that's a little bit smaller than the needles that you used for your ribbing and for the body of your sweater. You want something that has a nice pointy little tip. This is just the simple Silverloom tool. I think it's Susan Bates, if I can read that correctly. And you can also get a regular like boy crochet hook. I do like these little sharp, not sharp, but pointier tips because they are a little bit easier to get into place. And you don't want one that is the same size as the knitting needle that you were using because it might be a little bit harder to get in there. So we don't have very far to go. We're just going to cover this top edge with trim here. So what we're going to do is work a crocheted slip stitch edge. This is something you might already be familiar with, but I will hold the yarn in my left hand. And if you are a continental knitter or some variation of that, you may find this pretty comfortable. If you are an English style knitter, this may be a little more awkward, but you don't have to do it for very long. So I believe in you. You can do it. All right, let's get started. To begin, I've brought my hook through the very top stitch of that bind off row. And then I'm going to go down into the next stitch. So the first stitch on your hook should be in the contrast. The second stitch will be in the color of your button band. Wrap the yarn around, and then we're going to draw the new stitch through the previous stitch. We're going to continue this across this top edge. Go down into the next stitch, just one leg, wrap the yarn around the hook, bring it up through, and then draw the new stitch through the previous stitch. Now you can control the width of these stitches and how tight or loose they are by just pulling on that working yarn to make it a little tighter or easing it up a little bit by kind of drawing it out on your stitch if you need to. So if it feels really tight or really loose, control your tension with the working yarn. All right, we're going to go down into the next leg of the next stitch, draw it through, and then pull the new stitch through the previous stitch. And you will probably go through every stitch that has a leg available, but if you see one that's really tiny and it's feeling a little crowded, you can skip that one. All right, so I've got two. Always just have two on your hook. Now we're going to go into the next one, wrap the working yarn, draw it through, oops, and you might run into that same little issue, which is why the Silverloom tool is great because you can kind of stab it and get it back in place there. All right, couple more. And then I just want to show you one more thing, which is how to sort of seal up that transition point. All right, draw the new stitch through the earlier stitch. Now you can see I'm kind of at the end of the space here. There is a gap and I could go down into that next stitch, but instead this is where I'm going to go ahead and join to the top edge. Now remember on yours, your top edge is also going to be in contrast. It's going to look like this. But on this example, obviously the contrast isn't there, so you're going to have to use your imagination, but the process again is the same. So take the hook and go into the top edge, and we're going to find one strand in that top edge, and here's where we're going to create sort of a smooth join so it doesn't have a step there. All right, now at this point, I'm about ready to seal this off. So my yarn is actually cut, which is great, and yours will be probably cut too because you're probably working with your tail. And just go ahead and pull that yarn through that last bit, and then you can draw all the way through. Now we have, you can manipulate it a little bit if you need to kind of get, you know, a little tidier edge there. And then just take the hook, bring it up from underneath to grab that working yarn, and then pull it down to the bottom edge. And then you'll weave it in from there. So if we had a contrasting top edge, then this would just ease right into that contrast so that you don't see a noticeable transition point. And that's how you can finish off that trim. The process is pretty much the same regardless of which part of the ribbing, top or bottom, left or right, that you're working on. But I'm going to flip this around. Now I don't have any trim on this side, so you're going to have to use your imagination here. But if you left yourself a long tail, this is the bottom edge. If you left yourself a long tail, you're still working from the outside to the inside. So it's flipping things around, but you're still doing the same thing. You're just going to be starting this way and working this way. So you'll have your tail and you'll still go into the first leg of the stitch and keep doing that all the way from left to right and sealing it up. So on the top side, we have the end of our band at the right and we work right to left. On the bottom, the end of the band is on the left, so we'll do the same process, but we'll just work left to right. And you'll repeat this on the other side of your button band. And that's how you will get these lovely contrast edges. There's the top, there is the bottom, and that will give you a nice finished look for your coastal grandma cardigan.